The call came through at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday night while I was 3 levels underground at the Pentagon, shoulder deep in classified server racks, trying to stop a coordinated cyber attack that was costing our national defense systems $42,000 per hour. My secure phone buzzed against my hip. I ignored it. Then it buzzed again. I pulled off my work gloves and checked the encrypted display. Stephen Martinez, my direct supervisor at Apex Defense Systems, calling from his Arlington condo at what should be dinner time. I almost didn't answer. When you're managing a security breach that's compromising military communications across 3 time zones, phone calls from corporate feel less urgent than the blinking threat indicators in front of you. But I answered anyway because that's what 20 years of being a reliable crisis manager conditions you to do. Patterson speaking. Russell, it's Stephen. I need to inform you of a company decision, effective immediately. We no longer require your services as senior defense security architect. Your employment is terminated as of today. I looked at the threat console in front of me. Alert code Red Dawn active still flashing across multiple screens. Database intrusion attempts showing 1,247 failed authentication probes in the last 8 minutes. 3 separate military communication networks completely isolated due to our emergency lockdown protocols. Amanda Johnson, Pentagon Operations Coordinator, standing 10 feet away, looking at me with the kind of desperate hope you see when someone realizes their entire mission depends on one person who actually understands these 25-year-old legacy defense systems. I understand, I said, keeping my voice level. I'll inform Amanda that Apex Defense will be handling the breach response procedures for the crisis I'm currently managing. Silence long enough that I thought the secure connection might have dropped. What crisis? The coordinated cyber attack that brought me to the Pentagon at 4 p.m. yesterday. 3 military networks are in full lockdown. The breach is costing approximately $42,000 per hour in communications downtime and operational delays. I'm in the middle of tracing the intrusion through 20-year-old mainframe protocols that predate most of your current staff. I assume you'll want to send someone else to complete the trace work, since I no longer work for Apex Defense. More silence. I could hear him breathing through the encrypted line. Russell, let's discuss this after you've resolved the Pentagon situation. I don't think that's appropriate. You just terminated my employment. I shouldn't be working on Apex Defense projects if I'm no longer an Apex Defense employee. I'll brief Amanda on what I've discovered so far and catch the next shuttle back to Virginia. Or actually, not back to the office since you said not to bother returning. Wait, Russell, let me call you back. He ended the call before I could respond. My name is Russell Patterson. I'm 51 years old, and I just got fired while managing a cybersecurity crisis that nobody else at my company knows how to solve. At 51, I thought I had maybe 14 good working years left before thinking about retirement, and maybe that cabin in the Blue Ridge Mountains my late wife Jennifer always wanted to buy. I thought I'd built enough reputation and expertise to coast into my golden years with respect and security. That phone call changed everything. And maybe it was time. Andrew's tuition bill was sitting on my kitchen table back in Alexandria. $17,200 due in 6 weeks for his junior year at Virginia Tech. Jennifer had made me promise before she died that Andrew would graduate debt-free, that our son wouldn't start his adult life carrying the burden of student loans like we did. Corporate loyalty wasn't going to pay that bill. Expertise might. Before I explain what happened over the next 72 hours, let me establish who I am and why that phone call was the most expensive mistake Stephen Martinez ever made. I joined the Navy right out of high school in 1990. Back then, if you wanted to learn computers, the military was your best option. Civilian colleges were still teaching Fortran while the Navy was already working with networked systems and early cybersecurity protocols. I spent 8 years as an information systems technician, specializing in secure communications. My first assignment was aboard the USS Miami, a fast attack submarine where computer systems meant life or death. You learn real quick that when you're 400 feet underwater, there's no calling tech support. You either fix it yourself or people die. That submarine taught me something about pressure that no corporate job ever could. When systems fail in the civilian world, you lose money. When systems fail underwater, you lose everything. I worked on everything from sonar computers to communication arrays, learning how different military systems talk to each other through protocols that civilians had never heard of. The Navy was paranoid about security, which meant every system had multiple layers of authentication, encryption, and fail-safes. By the time I got out in 1998, I understood military computer architecture better than most people understood their home PCs. The timing was perfect. The internet was exploding. Y2K was making everyone nervous about old computer systems, and defense contractors were suddenly realizing that all those military installations they'd been selling equipment to for decades were running on computer code that nobody really understood anymore. The young hotshots coming out of college knew Java and HTML, but they'd never seen assembly code or worked with mainframe systems that used punch cards for backup storage. They definitely didn't understand the paranoid security mindset that drove military system design. Every military computer assumed it was under attack all the time, which made them incredibly secure but also incredibly complex to troubleshoot when something went wrong. Apex Defense hired me in 2003 as a network security engineer specializing in legacy military systems. My job was simple. When a military installation got hacked and their regular IT people couldn't figure out what happened, they called us. We sent me. It wasn't glamorous work. Most of the time I was crawling around server rooms in the middle of the night, tracing network intrusions through systems that were older than the people trying to hack them. But it was work that mattered. Every breach I stopped potentially saved lives. Every vulnerability I patched kept classified information out of enemy hands. Over the next 20 years, I responded to 287 security emergencies across 14 states and 3 overseas installations. I'd traced advanced persistent threats through systems that ran on programming languages most people thought were extinct. I diagnosed insider attack vectors in networks where the attack signatures were hidden in 20-year-old log files. I'd identified zero-day vulnerabilities in custom military software that had been running perfectly fine until someone figured out how to exploit code that was written before most hackers were born. The work took its toll. I missed Andrew's high school graduation to fix a breach at Norfolk Naval Base that was compromising submarine communication protocols. I spent my 48th birthday in a server room at Fort Bragg, debugging assembly code while Jennifer celebrated alone at home with a grocery store cake. That was the hardest part about the military contractor life. The emergencies never happened during business hours. They always came at 2 a.m. on weekends, during family vacations, on Christmas morning. And you always went because people were depending on systems that you were one of only a handful of people in the country who really understood. That was before the cancer diagnosis. Before I learned that loyalty to your employer means nothing when you need time for chemotherapy appointments and hospice care. Jennifer died 3 years ago. Ovarian cancer, stage 4 by the time they caught it. She fought for 18 months. And I was there for every doctor's appointment, every chemo session, every sleepless night when the pain got too bad for the medication to handle. Apex Defense gave me the flexibility to work from home when I could, but military emergencies don't pause for personal tragedy. I still had to fly to Colorado Springs in the middle of Jennifer's final week because NORAD had a communication breach that nobody else could trace. She made me promise 2 things before she died. First, that Andrew would graduate college debt-free. Second, that I'd stop letting other people define my worth. You're too valuable to let one company control your future. She'd tell me during those long nights at the hospital, build something that's yours, not theirs. Jennifer had grown up watching her father work 32 years for the same steel company, believing loyalty would guarantee security. When they got bought out, they eliminated his pension and laid him off at 59. He spent his last 8 working years bouncing between temporary jobs, never again finding the security he'd thought he'd earned. Nobody looks out for you except you, Russell, she'd say. The company will replace you the moment it becomes convenient. I thought she was being cynical. After all, I had specialized knowledge. I was solving problems that other engineers couldn't even understand. How do you replace someone like that? Stephen Martinez had just shown me exactly how. Andrew's 20 now, junior at Virginia Tech, studying computer science like his old man. He's got Jennifer's stubborn streak and my technical mind. Smart kid, but he carries the weight of knowing exactly how much his education costs and exactly how hard I work to pay for it. Every semester when the tuition bill comes, I see him calculating whether he should transfer to a cheaper school, get a part-time job, maybe take out loans. But Jennifer made me promise, no loans, no compromising his future, because we couldn't afford his present. Most importantly, over 20 years at Apex Defense, I'd developed deep knowledge of legacy military communication protocols that most of the defense industry still runs on, but nobody teaches anymore. Every installation had unique implementations. Every system had custom modifications. Every security model had quirks that existed only in my experience-based understanding of how those systems behaved under attack. That knowledge was what made me valuable. That knowledge was also what Steven Martinez had just eliminated from Apex Defense crisis response capability at the worst possible moment. The Pentagon crisis had started 27 hours earlier. Fort Belvoir, Norfolk Naval Base, and Quantico had all reported sophisticated intrusion attempts targeting their communication relay systems within 2 hours of each other. All three installations used similar legacy mainframe architectures. All three were experiencing identical attack patterns. This was the kind of coordinated attack that kept defense professionals awake at night. Someone with serious resources and deep technical knowledge was systematically probing the backbone of military communications infrastructure. Not some script kiddie trying to steal personnel files. This was nation-state level sophistication. Apex Defense Standard Protocol was remote diagnostics first. I spent 6 hours on secure video calls with each installation's security teams, walking them through trace procedures and reviewing intrusion logs. By midnight Wednesday, I determined this wasn't something that could be resolved remotely. The attack pattern suggested someone with deep knowledge of military communication protocols was systematically probing for vulnerabilities in 25-year-old code that most people assumed was too classified to be worth attacking. They were wrong. Old code isn't automatically secure code. It's just code that nobody remembers how to fix when it breaks. I took the metro to Pentagon City Thursday morning, arriving at the secure entrance at 6 a.m. Amanda Johnson met me at the security checkpoint. She looked like she hadn't slept in 3 days, which she probably hadn't. "Mr. Patterson, thank you for coming. We've been in communications lockdown for 26 hours. CENTCOM is asking why we can't secure our own systems. Because this attack pattern is targeting vulnerabilities that require hands-on mainframe access to properly trace. I need to examine the communication protocols directly." She led me to the secure data center. 4 floors of humming mainframe computers, each one processing thousands of military communications per minute when they weren't locked down due to security breaches. All silent now, all offline, all costing the Pentagon approximately $14,000 per hour in operational delays. This was the kind of place that reminded me why I got into this business. These weren't just computers. They were the nervous system of American military operations. Every order, every intelligence report, every personnel communication flowed through systems like these. When they went down, missions got delayed and people got put at risk. The first thing I noticed was the attack methodology. Most hackers go for the obvious targets: user databases, email servers, file storage systems. This attack was different. They were targeting communication routing protocols, the deep system code that determined how encrypted messages moved between military installations. Someone understood that if you could intercept military communications at the routing level, you didn't need to break the encryption. You could just redirect the traffic to servers you controlled, decrypt it at your leisure, then forward it to the intended destination. The military would never know their secure communications were being read in real time. I spent the next 9 hours tracing the attack through system logs, identifying the exact communication subroutines the hackers were targeting and mapping their intrusion methodology. This wasn't some random cyber vandalism. This was sophisticated, methodical, and expensive. The hackers had done their homework. They knew exactly which military installations still used the legacy protocols I'd helped design in the late 1990s. They knew which systems had custom communication code that hadn't been updated in decades. Most importantly, they knew that most defense contractors had moved on to newer technologies and didn't maintain the expertise to troubleshoot problems in 25-year-old assembly code. By 6 p.m. Thursday, I'd moved between all 3 installations, finding identical attack patterns across every compromised system. The hackers weren't just hitting random military targets. They were specifically targeting the communication backbone that connected forward operating bases to command headquarters. If this attack succeeded, military commanders would lose real-time communication with troops in the field. Medical evacuation requests could be delayed. Intelligence reports could be intercepted. Artillery coordination could be compromised. People could die. By 10:30 p.m. Thursday, I'd isolated the specific vulnerability. The hackers were exploiting a buffer overflow in legacy assembly code that handled encrypted military communications. The vulnerability existed in custom communication software that Apex Defense had helped implement in 1999. I was part of the original development team. I was one of only 2 people in the country who understood how that communication code worked, and the other guy, Patrick Sullivan, was in Germany managing a NATO contract. Fixing it required patching 25-year-old assembly modules, updating mainframe security protocols, and implementing new input validation routines that would prevent similar attacks without breaking the military's existing communication systems. This wasn't like updating your smartphone. You couldn't just download a patch and restart. Every change had to be tested, validated, and implemented with surgical precision. One mistake and you could freeze military communications for days during active operations. I estimated 14 to 18 hours of careful programming work across all 3 installations. It was the kind of work that required not just technical knowledge, but institutional memory. You had to understand not just how the code worked, but why it was written that way. I started the patchwork at 10 to 45 p.m. Thursday night. By 11 to 47 p.m., I was halfway through updating the first set of assembly modules when Stephen called and told me I was fired. After Stephen hung up, Amanda approached me cautiously. You could see the panic starting to set in as she processed what she just overheard. "Mr. Patterson, is everything all right? You look concerned. I just got terminated by my employer while in the middle of securing your communication systems." Her expression went from concern to horrified. In her world, military communications didn't just shut down for maintenance. Every hour these systems stayed down was compromising operational readiness and putting service members at risk. "Terminated. But you're the only person who understands our legacy protocols. What happens to our systems?" That's an excellent question. Apex Defense will need to send someone else to complete the work. How long will that take? The other engineer who understands these communication protocols is Patrick Sullivan. He's in Germany managing a NATO contract. Apex Defense might have to wait until he becomes available. How long? Patrick's European engagement is scheduled for another 11 days plus travel time. Amanda's face went white. I could see her doing the math in her head. We can't wait 11 days. Every day offline compromises operational communications and mission readiness. 11 days would put active operations at risk. Then I suggest you contact Apex Defense Corporate and explain the urgency. At 1:15 a.m., my phone rang again. This time it was Christopher Wilson, Apex Defense Chief Operating Officer. Christopher had been with the company for 15 years and understood exactly how critical my role was to military crisis management. He was also smart enough to realize that Stephen had just made a catastrophic error in judgment. "Russell, I just got off the phone with Stephen. There's been a misunderstanding about your employment status. We need you to complete the Pentagon engagement before we discuss any personnel matters." "Christopher," Stephen was very clear. He said my employment was terminated effective immediately. That's not a misunderstanding. That's termination. I could hear the desperation creeping into his voice. Christopher understood the implications in a way that Stephen obviously didn't. This wasn't just about one disgruntled employee. This was about Apex Defense's entire reputation in the military contracting industry. I understand this is confusing, but let's focus on resolving the communications crisis first. We can address your employment situation after you've secured the systems. I don't think that's appropriate. If I'm terminated, I shouldn't be working on Apex Defense projects. If I'm not terminated, then Stephen needs to call me back and clarify that he made an error. This is a critical national security situation. These communication systems are essential for military operations. We need you to complete the security patches. Then you need to clarify my employment status first. Am I an Apex Defense employee or not? Long pause. I could hear Christopher thinking through the implications. If he said I was still employed, he'd be contradicting Stephen's termination and creating internal political problems. If he said I was terminated, he'd be admitting that Apex Defense had just eliminated their crisis response capability in the middle of their most expensive emergency. "Russell, let me conference in Stephen so we can resolve this together. I'd rather you didn't." Stephen was clear about his decision. "I'm respecting that decision by no longer working on Apex Defense projects. If the Pentagon needs assistance, they should contact Apex Defense Emergency Response Line and request another engineer. There is no other engineer available who understands these legacy military systems. That's an unfortunate situation, but it's not my problem anymore since I'm no longer an Apex Defense employee." I ended the call. Amanda was standing nearby, having heard my side of the conversation. The weight of the situation was settling on her shoulders. At my age, I'd seen this look before. The moment when someone in management realizes they're completely dependent on something they don't understand and can't control. What should we do, Mr. Patterson? You should contact Apex Defense and request emergency engineering support. Explain the urgency of the situation. They'll prioritize getting someone here as quickly as possible. But you're here now. You understand our systems. You were in the middle of fixing the vulnerability. Can't you just complete the work? I thought about that carefully. Back when I was younger, you'd finish the job regardless of company politics because it was the right thing to do. But I'd learned something important over 20 years in corporate America and 8 years in the Navy. Honor has to go both ways. I'd given Apex Defense my best years, missed family time, worked through Jennifer's illness, and built their reputation one crisis at a time. The moment it became convenient, they threw me away like broken equipment. Andrew's tuition was due in 6 weeks. My mortgage wasn't going to pay itself. Corporate loyalty is a luxury I couldn't afford anymore. I was fired 89 minutes ago. I can't ethically continue working on a project for a company that just terminated my employment. What if we hired you directly? Not through Apex Defense, but as an independent consultant working for the Pentagon. Now, that was interesting. I'd never considered going independent. But at 51, maybe it was time to think about options beyond the corporate ladder. Jennifer had always said I was too valuable to let one company control my future. She'd grown up watching her father work 29 years for the same steel company, believing that loyalty and hard work would guarantee security. When the company got bought out, they eliminated his pension and laid him off at 57. He spent his last 8 working years bouncing between temporary jobs, never again finding the security he'd thought he'd earned. I wasn't going to make his mistake, not with Andrew counting on me. That would create contractual complications. The Pentagon has security agreements with Apex Defense. Those agreements probably have exclusivity provisions preventing you from hiring outside consultants to work on Apex Defense designed systems. I'll check our contracts. She made several phone calls, had quick conversations that involved a lot of technical terms and urgent whispers, then looked at me with cautious optimism. Our legal team says the security agreement has exclusivity provisions for routine maintenance, but emergency patches can be conducted by any qualified consultant if Apex Defense cannot provide timely support. They're defining timely support as within 24 hours of request. That was the opening I needed, not just to solve this immediate crisis, but to test whether there was a future beyond Apex Defense. At 51, I was too old to start over at another company, but maybe not too old to start working for myself. Have you formally requested emergency support from Apex Defense? She sent an encrypted email to Apex Defense Emergency Response Team, formally requesting immediate engineering support for the military communications breach and noting that the previous engineer, me, was no longer available to complete the patchwork. She marked it urgent and requested response within 6 hours. At 3:45 a.m., we received a response from Apex Defense Emergency Coordinator that told us everything we needed to know about how this was going to play out. We acknowledge your request for emergency engineering support. Our senior security architects are currently committed to other client emergencies. We are working to identify available resources and will provide an estimated response timeline within 8 hours. 8 hours. In corporate speak, that meant they had no idea how to solve this problem without me, but they weren't ready to admit it yet. Christopher was probably spending his Friday morning calling every contractor and consultant he could find, trying to locate someone who understood military communication protocols well enough to not make the crisis worse. Amanda showed me the email with the kind of desperate expression you see on people who are watching their career go down in flames through no fault of their own. What does this mean? It means Apex Defense doesn't have anyone available to send. Patrick is in Germany, and apparently nobody else at Apex Defense has the expertise to handle military communication vulnerabilities. So we wait, unless you want to exercise your contract provision and hire an independent consultant. Are you available as an independent consultant? This was the moment. At 51, after 20 years of corporate life, I was being offered the chance to work for myself, to set my own rates, choose my own projects, and never again have to worry about some young manager deciding my expertise was too expensive. Jennifer had been right. This wasn't a crisis, it was an opportunity. I could be. What would your rate structure look like? I thought about that carefully. Independent consulting rates for emergency cybersecurity work typically range from $185 to $185 per hour, depending on expertise level and urgency. I was at the top of the expertise scale, and this was definitely urgent. But more than that, I was the only person available who could solve this problem. That kind of scarcity has value. $210 per hour for emergency security work, minimum 24-hour engagement to ensure complete vulnerability patching and system validation. That's $540 total payment terms, 50% deposit before I resume work, remaining 50% upon successful system restoration. Amanda didn't even blink. When your military communications are down and you're facing congressional hearings about national security failures, $540 for a solution starts looking like a bargain. Done. I'll have our contracting office process the deposit immediately. The contracting process took until Friday evening. Government paperwork, even in emergencies, moves at government speed. But by 6:30 p.m. Friday, my secure phone chimed with a bank transfer notification. $2,520 had just cleared into my personal checking account, more money than I'd ever received for a single day's work in my entire career. At 7 p.m. Friday, I resumed work on the communication security patches, but now I was working for myself. The funny thing about doing the same work as an independent consultant, instead of a corporate employee, is how different it feels. Every line of code I wrote was billable. Every problem I solved was building my reputation instead of someone else's company. Every decision was mine to make. For the first time in 20 years, I wasn't just fixing someone else's crisis. I was building my own future, building something for Andrew's education, building something Jennifer would have been proud of. The patchwork went smoother than expected. Without corporate approval processes slowing me down, I could make decisions based purely on technical merit. By Saturday afternoon, I'd completed the vulnerability fixes across all 3 military installations. By Saturday evening, I'd updated the security protocols and conducted full system testing. By Sunday morning, all 3 installations were back online with no security vulnerabilities and no communication processing errors. Total lockdown time, 38 hours. Total operational impact, approximately $1.59 million. But the systems were secure and the patches I'd implemented would prevent similar communication-based attacks in the future. More importantly, I'd just proven to myself that I didn't need Apex Defense. They needed me. Amanda was watching the communication monitors with visible relief as encrypted traffic began processing normally again. The green lights were beautiful, each one representing thousands of military communications that had been frozen for nearly 2 days, finally flowing through the system like they were supposed to. Mr. Patterson, I cannot thank you enough. You saved us from a disaster that would have been catastrophically worse if we'd waited for Apex Defense to send another engineer. You're welcome. I'll prepare a technical report documenting the vulnerability, attack methodology, and patch procedures. You should share that with Apex Defense so they can update their security documentation. At 9:30 p.m. Sunday night, I received a call from Christopher Wilson. I was back at my apartment in Alexandria, exhausted, but satisfied with the weekend's work. More than satisfied, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Pride in work that was entirely mine. Russell, I understand you completed the military security work as an independent consultant. We need to discuss your employment status. Stephen's decision to terminate you was premature. We'd like to offer you reinstatement with full back pay and benefits. I appreciate that, but I'm declining. I'm now operating as an independent consultant. It's more lucrative, and I have better control over which projects I accept. What does that mean for Apex Defense? You are our most experienced legacy systems expert. It means Apex Defense will need to develop other engineers with similar expertise or accept that your crisis response capability is significantly reduced. The truth was, at 51, I'd finally learned what my father never had the chance to figure out. He worked 29 years for the same manufacturing company, believing that loyalty and hard work would guarantee security. When the company got bought out, they eliminated his pension and laid him off at 57. He spent his last 8 working years bouncing between temporary jobs, never again finding the security he'd thought he'd earned. I wasn't going to make his mistake, not with Andrew counting on me. The next morning, I called Andrew at Virginia Tech. He was between classes, grabbing coffee at the student union, probably stressing about his upcoming midterms and wondering how we were going to manage his tuition payment in 5 weeks. Dad, is everything okay? You never call on Monday mornings? Everything's fine, son. Actually, everything's better than fine. I have some news about your tuition. His voice got tight, the way it always did when money came up. Andrew knew exactly how much his education cost and exactly how hard I worked to pay for it. What kind of news? The good kind. I just finished a consulting project that paid more in one weekend than I used to make in 2 months. Your tuition is covered, and you don't need to worry about student loans. Silence for a moment. Then I heard his voice crack slightly. Dad, what happened? You sound different. I got fired Thursday night while I was fixing a Pentagon security breach that was costing the military $42,000 per hour. Oh no, Dad. I'm so sorry. Do you need me to come home? I can take a semester off. Get a job. No, Andrew, that's exactly what you're not going to do, because getting fired turned out to be the best thing that could have happened to my career. I told him about the independent consulting work, about the Pentagon contract, about the opportunities that were already starting to come in. Over the next 8 weeks, I received 7 emergency calls from military installations and defense contractors experiencing security crises. Total consulting revenue, $87,000 for 8 weeks of work. That was more than I'd made in the previous 10 months at Apex Defense. Word spreads fast in the defense security industry. By October, I was receiving calls from installations asking about security audits and ongoing vulnerability consulting. By December, I had 5 long-term consulting contracts with defense installations. Combined retainer revenue, $12,500 monthly, approximately $150,000 annually, plus additional project fees. In January, Apex Defense offered me a consulting arrangement. $210 per hour for active security work, $2,200 monthly retainer. I accepted because it was guaranteed revenue. Stephen Martinez lasted until March. The board calculated that his decision cost Apex Defense approximately $295,000 in lost contracts and consulting fees. They were now paying me instead of employing me directly. By late 2024, I was managing 7 long-term consulting relationships. Annual revenue was approaching $245,000. I was working 65% of the hours while earning nearly 3 times my previous salary. Andrew's spring semester tuition was paid in full by January. No loans, no stress. When he called to thank me, his voice was different, lighter. Dad, I can actually focus on my studies instead of worrying about money. You gave me something Mom always wanted, the freedom to learn without financial pressure. At 51, I thought my career was winding down. Instead, it was just getting started. The most dangerous employee to fire isn't the one who complains about salary. It's the one who's literally in the middle of solving a crisis that nobody else knows how to solve. Because when you fire that person, you don't just lose their future contributions, you lose their ability to prevent the immediate disaster that's happening right now. Stephen wanted to reduce headcount and eliminate what he saw as an expensive senior engineer. He got exactly what he wanted. I was eliminated. But my expertise wasn't eliminated. It just got a lot more expensive. Your value isn't determined by what one company is willing to pay you. It's determined by what the market will pay for what you know how to do. And sometimes the market values that knowledge a lot more than your employer ever did. This morning, my secure phone buzzed with another emergency call. MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, communication systems compromised. Attack pattern identical to the Pentagon breach. They'd already contacted 3 defense contractors. Nobody could solve it, Mr. Patterson. We understand you specialize in legacy military communication vulnerabilities. Are you available for emergency consulting? I looked at my calendar. Andrew's graduation is next month. Jennifer's cabin in the Blue Ridge Mountains is finally within reach. My consulting pipeline is booked solid through next year. My rate is $210 per hour, minimum 24-hour engagement. When do you need me there? Getting fired at 51 wasn't the end of my career. It was the beginning of the career I should have had all along. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to your career is having someone force you to discover what you're really worth on the open market. The security you build through irreplaceable expertise belongs to you forever. Corporate loyalty is just a temporary arrangement that ends the moment it becomes inconvenient for them.